Left behind. My brother Mika and I were visiting my friend Kasha at work before everything fell apart. She worked at an isolated research facility on the outskirts of the city. It was surrounded by tall brick walls with a small entrance. When we located her, she was surrounded by ancient computers, massive gray blocks with spinning tape reels and flickering lights. The hum of the machines filled the air like a low chant. She said they were the lungs of the oasis. Without them, no one would get in and no one would survive. This was the first time I had heard about the oasis. She told us it was a secret underground refuge built years ago by owners of the research facility who didn't trust the government's promises. She pointed east to the horizon. "If the time ever comes," she said, "go right. Follow the valley. You'll find it." Then she smiled faintly. "But you'll need my invitation to get in." The scientists and their so-called guest experts had been warning everyone that, in the near future, beings from another world would come. That's why they built the city, an above-ground refuge, a doomsday bunker for those who had nowhere else to go. Some people prepared, most ignored it. I trusted the city. If the warnings ever came true, I planned to head there. Safer, simpler, familiar. But safety, I'd learned, was a story we told ourselves. While my brother and I stood next to Kasha, she logged codes, reviewed access requests, kept track of who was invited. But the way her fingers danced over the keyboard, too fast, too sure, made me think she wasn't just maintaining something. She was controlling it. Without warning, the sky changed. It went from silver gray to something else, something pulsing. We felt a vibration in the air, deep enough to shake the windows. That was when the first being appeared. It towered over the facility wall, 3 stories tall, bald. Its skin shimmered with iridescent light, shifting colors with each breath, like oil spilled over water. The creature's arms were too long, its shoulders curved forward like a beast ready to pounce. It had eyes that looked almost kind, until you realized there was nothing behind them. The scientists had been right, but they'd underestimated what was to come. The ape-like being wasn't alone for long. Others would come later, different shapes, different horrors, but this one was the messenger, the first ripple of the storm. Its purpose was simple: destroy. When the beings came, chaos followed. The employees at Kasha's job screamed and scattered, trampling each other as the first of the 3-story creatures appeared. Kasha, somehow, was calm, moving toward the oasis like she'd practiced for this moment 1,000 times. She moved with impossible speed and agility, doing things that didn't seem humanly possible. That's when we lost sight of her. My brother and I turned left toward the city, but a tall brick wall surrounded the entire facility, cutting us off. We tried to climb, hands slipping on dust and blood while all around us people were dying. Each time we nearly reached the top, the creatures slammed their fists into the ground, the shockwaves knocking us off the wall. When that didn't work, they began punching holes straight through the brick, killing whoever stood near. Through one of those holes, I saw my sister Sumi on the other side. She was coming toward us, trying to reach us. I yelled for her to save herself, to run to the city instead. Then one of the beings struck again. The wall crumbled. My brother was gone. I had one decision to make: go left or right. The road forked through cracked earth, one direction leading to the city above ground, the other toward the hidden oasis buried deep beneath the valley. The city suddenly felt too far away, too impossible to reach before the next blow came. So I turned. I ran toward the right, toward the oasis. The facility gates led us toward the oasis path. Kasha had told me once, if anything ever happens, go right. Trust the voice. When I reached the clearing, there was nothing, no door, no tunnel, no sign of life, just rock and dead grass. Then a sound. Identify yourself. It wasn't a human voice. It vibrated through the air, like it was coming from inside our bones. A woman ahead of us, one of the technicians from the facility, stepped forward. Her hands trembled as she spoke a phrase I didn't recognize, something soft and melodic. The air shimmered. A section of rock melted away, revealing an opening that hadn't been visible seconds before. A breath of warm air swept out from below, carrying the scent of metal and ozone. As the woman stepped inside, the voice announced her name, so that the others below would know, so that no one would be surprised. Kasha's voice echoed in my mind. The code is different for each person. If you say the wrong words, it won't open, and you won't get a second chance. When it was my turn, I froze. But before I could speak, Kasha appeared beside me, her eyes reflecting the strange light from below. I already told it who you are, she said quietly. You're safe. Inside, the oasis felt like a dream made from machinery. Long corridors of stone lined with glowing cables. The air hummed, alive with power. The onboarding auditorium was vast, rows of steel benches, screens projecting names of new arrivals as if announcing them to an unseen audience. Every time a new person entered, a calm voice echoed, "Welcome. You are seen." The words should have been comforting. They weren't. Kasha guided me through the crowd, her hand brushing against my shoulder. I noticed then how cold her skin felt, too cold, like metal left out overnight. She smiled faintly when she saw me notice. "It's the temperature down here," she said. "You'll get used to it." But I never did. From above, the world burned. The ape-like beings had torn through the facility, and now others had come. 4 types, each more terrible than the last. The ones that floated like jellyfish, their translucent forms filled with pulsing light. The ones that crawled, spined and silent. And the ones that imitated us, walking among the ruins with borrowed faces. And maybe, just maybe, one of them had borrowed my brother's. Because days later, he appeared at the entrance to the oasis. Whole, smiling, saying my name like he'd never been gone. I wanted to believe him. But when the voice asked for his code, he didn't hesitate. He spoke a phrase no human could have known. And the door opened for him. When my brother stepped through the entrance, the air shifted. The same mechanical voice that had announced the others spoke again. "Welcome, Mika. You are seen." But the way it said his name made my stomach twist. The tone wasn't warm, it was reverent, like the system was greeting one of its own. Kasha froze beside me. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked uncertain. "Did you tell it his name too?" I whispered. She didn't answer. Her gaze lingered on my brother, watching how his skin seemed to shimmer faintly under the artificial lights. Just a flicker, but enough to make me take a step back. Mika smiled when he saw me. "I told you, big sister. I've been through worse." His voice was calm, too calm. It rippled slightly, as if 2 versions of him were speaking just out of sync. The silence between us felt like a crack in the earth. That is when Kasha told me then, how years ago, before the warnings, before the invasion, she'd worked on hybrid cognition projects. The government wanted human minds that could think like alien ones. She thought she was building defense systems, but what she created were doorways that something else used to enter. The breach came 2 nights later. The walls of the auditorium shook with the force of something enormous above. Sirens blared. The old speakers crackled with static, then with words that weren't words. Frequencies that made the air itself hum painfully. People screamed. Others fell to their knees, clutching their heads. The beings were breaking through. Kasha grabbed my arm. "You have to go left." "What?" "There's another exit, a tunnel leading toward the old city ruins. It was sealed after the first construction. but it connects to the surface. There's still a chance there. You're coming with me. She shook her head. I can't. I have to stay and override the core. If I don't, they'll use the oasis as a signal relay. It will call more of them. Then I'll stay too. She touched my face, her hand cold as stone. You need to live. And maybe you'll tell them we tried. A blast echoed through the chamber. One of the iridescent brutes had broken through the far wall, its massive frame framed by collapsing stone and light. Kasha turned toward it, her movements suddenly inhumanly precise, her eyes burning like metal under flame. I understood then. She wasn't fully one of us anymore. Go left, she whispered. Follow your instincts. And she was gone, disappearing into the smoke as I ran. The tunnel was long and narrow, filled with echoes of the dying oasis. When I finally reached the end, I pushed through a rusted grate and stumbled out into the open night. The city was a ruin of light and ash. The cobblestone streets were cracked, the air heavy with the scent of ozone. A single tower in the distance still flickered with life, the old signal beacon Kanisha had mentioned. I turned back once, expecting to see the ground collapse, the oasis swallowed whole. But nothing happened. The earth remained still. For a moment, I thought maybe she had survived. Then the beacon pulsed once, bright, rhythmic, almost like Morse code. 3 short, 1 long, 2 short, a pattern I recognized. It was the same rhythm Kasha used to tap on her console when she was thinking. Was it her? A message? A memory? I didn't know. Now, whenever I dream, I'm back at that fork in the road, the sky above gray, the earth humming with hidden life, left or right, the easy path or the unseen one. I chose right, and I survived. But survival doesn't always mean you were right. Sometimes the choices that save you also haunt you. Sometimes the voices that guide you aren't entirely human. And sometimes, when I listen to the static of the radio at night, I hear Kasha's whisper, "You are seen."